Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner Classics / Known Classics. This is episode number 1739 and Doubleshot number 1633. First up is the finale for this writer's run on this character. Daniel Way on Wolverine. This book collects issues 33 to 50 of Wolverine Origins and issues 85-86 of Dark Wolverine. I'm not going to discuss Dark Wolverine 85-86 and the two issues of Dark and the Wolverine Origins book that cross with it, mainly because I have actually already talked about this crossover in Dark Wolverine Punishment. Yep, so already discussed those issues, so I'm not going to discuss those here. Now these are your story arcs here. First up, it is Weapon X. It's basically Weapon 11. It's a four-part story arc. You're thinking, four-part. Now, here's the weird thing, though. When Steve Dillon was the artist for Wolverine Origins, every story arc was 5 issues long. Apparently, after he left, Daniel Way decided to reduce the number of issues for certain story arcs from about 5 to about, let's say, the very first story arc he did right after Steve Dillon left. It was a 2-parter. The arc he did after Riddleson, a 2-parter. And a 4-parter. We finally didn't get to a 5-parter until 7 the hard way. It was the first 5-parter in a long time. Heck, the finale for the series is a 2-parter. Weapon 11's artist is Doug Brinton. Romulus is done by Scott Eden. 7 the hard way, same artist as Weapon 11. Reckoning, which I've already discussed this cross, I'm not going to discuss it here. What I Do, which is actually the finale, well, it's a 2-part finale for the series, so it's a bonus story in issue 50. What I Do is done by Will Conrad, and the artwork for The End Is Always Near is done by Antonio Finisto. By the way, love this cover art here. I believe it's, who does this cover art here? This is done by Doug Bursa and Andy Troy. That's who does the cover art here for this one. They do for 33, 35, 36, and Dark Wolverine issues done by Steven Savalia and Ryan Benito. 37 to 40 is done by the interior artist Doug Burt, who also does issue. He pretty much does issues 37 to 43, and of course 44. Simon Bonucci does the 3 of the last 4 issues of the series. 46 is done by Len Francis Yu and Jason Keith. Ben Oliver does issue 45, and Gabriel Donito does issue number 50. First up, we have Weapon 11, where this is kind of taking place, I think, from what I can tell, during the events of Dark Reign. Yeah, that's simply put what this is. This is the Dark Reign storyline for Wolverine Origins. That's simply put what this is. And this guy goes a little bit into Wolverine's backstory, talking about his mother, Elizabeth Hudson, back there, was part of the Hudson Bay Company, which was an actual company, by the way, because in the 1800s. Yep, and details a little more. It's all about Romulus and how he was involved with that. Love the Weapon X callback, which is really cool. Yeah, and of course you have this tease image here. People part of Weapon X. People like Sabretooth, Deadpool, Wild Child. Yeah, of these characters, at this point in time, Sabretooth was already dead at this point. Yeah, he actually died just after, I would say, knowing after Civil War 1. He had been dead at this point for about 2 years. Yes, though he was brought back in a story arc that Jeff Loeb did, which is not actually in this trade, by the way. That story arc is done it was the second story arc after Jason Aaron left. Not the first one, like the second one. Basically, it's like the first issue of Information Gallery and all about getting a Mimosa sword. That's mostly put, basically, the first issue of the story arc. And then you have stuff dealing with the Dark Reign stuff for this book. Yeah, because, well, Dark Wolverine dealt with Dark Reign, so why not Wolverine Origins deal with this one too? So most put the X versus Daken for about a couple issues. Mostly put it's the Astonishing X-Men roster. Yeah, it's a line from Astonishing X, which I thought that was interesting. Yes. Most of it is, yes. Though Storm is not part of the roster at this point. Well, not part of the Astonishing X roster. It's a mix of the Astonishing and Kenny rosters, where they go after him. And you could kind of say, oh yeah, by the way, we have an appearance here by the Terrible Tinkerer, a Spider-Man character. One of like 3 comic books I can think of he's appeared in that's not Spider-Man. He's also popped up for a Punisher story. Yes, a Punisher story. As a matter of fact, the Punisher is responsible for putting him in this wheelchair in the first place. You're probably thinking, how the heck did he do that? He got into his car, and then Punisher stabbed him through his car seat. Well, basically his driver's seat. And that's the reason why he's in a wheelchair. Yep. You know, stuff with like Victor, stuff with Cyber in the story. And then we lead into a really interesting story arc here, where we had the return of Omega Red in the story arc. And in the story arc, him and Wildchild both get killed off in the story arc. How, you might ask? Well, Wolverine used the most way to stab Omega Red through his armor in his chest. It doesn't decapitate like it does with Sabretooth. He becomes the second character to get killed off with this particular weapon. Yep. And that's happened in issue 39. And by the way, this just came out in 2009. Omega was brought back in the pages of X-Men Gold. Yes, they resurrected him. Not by, not clone him or use a scroll. Oh no, what did they use? Magic to bring back Omega Red. Yep, and this is basically, you could say this story is the last stand of Omega Red. That's the best way you can describe the story arc, and the fact you also have the Wildchild here. We also have a guest star appearance in the storyline by the Black Widow. Why, you might ask? Because she's Russian, and Omega Red is a Russian character. So why the heck not? Yep, and this all deals with the character Romulus. And here he is again. Yep. And yeah, Cloak is basically tasked by Wolverine to deal with him. Which leads into the Reckoning crossover, which happens a bit later. Well, first he asks, basically the next few issues sets up the Reckoning crossover. That's basically what this 5-part of 7 Hard Ways to Die. First he goes to the Hulk, who was not the Hulk at this point, because this is after the events of Kenny X 600. It was Incredible Hulk 600, where he got his gamma radiation drained by the Red Hulk, and Scar is the Hulk of the book for one story arc by Greg Pak. This is pretty much during that particular storyline. That's the best way to describe this story arc. And then we got appearance also by classic Wolverine character, the Silver Samurai, who actually, not long after Danny Way wrapped up his run, the first thing Jason Aaron did as soon as he became the big writer for this book, had Silver Samurai get killed off in the opening issue. And he remained dead for 9 years. Until he got brought back during the whole Krakatoa stuff. Yep, he got resurrected in that. But yeah, really damn good story arc. And we also, we have a guest appearance by a character who, you're probably asking, who the heck is this character? This is Ruby Tuesday. Yeah, she was part of the Marvel's version of the Terrible Trio. Her along with the second Gorilla Man. He is simply a guy with the body of a gorilla. Yes. And she first appeared in pages of Defenders of all things. Yes, that's the thing with Ruby Tuesday. You're thinking, Ruby Tuesday. Oh, Thursday, excuse me. Yes. She is named after the song Ruby Tuesday for Rolling Stones. Yep, she's a character from Defender. She's part of the group known as the Headsmen. Yep, the Headsmen. That's their group. They're made up of like Gorilla Man, Ruby Thursday, Subdue the Mystic, and Shrunken Bones. Yeah, Shrunken Bones does not appear in the story arc at all. Not really, no. Yeah, if you're curious though, where are all these characters, you might ask? Well, they have occasionally show up over the years, but the only character who's got a lot of exposure over the years has been, of all things, Ruby Thursday. Yep. And this was by far at the time, basically, she had a previous, she basically shows up in this book for by the way, her first name is Thursday Rubinson. You might be asking, is she dead? No, she's not dead. She's very much alive. And the thing is, she's always been this sexy. Yeah, despite her head. Yeah, you're probably thinking, how the heck did basically her head get like that? Not really sure, actually. Nope, not really sure. So, yeah, here's the thing. After the story arc wrapped up, she popped up for one issue of Dark Wolverine, an issue of Avengers Academy, the .1 issue, the final issue of X-Men Legacy Volume, well, before it was relaunched of X-Men Legacy Volume 2, one issue of Gambit, an issue of Fearless Defenders, the Amazing Spider-Man Annual Volume 2, Number 1, which this came out in 2014. Yep. She appeared in I think it was the second story, if I'm not mistaken. Third story. Yeah, appeared in the third story. And she also popped up in the first issue of the relaunch of, Spider-Woman, and her most recent appearance I'll actually talk about next in Power Man and Iron Fist. Yep, that was by far her most recent appearance to date. And you're thinking, really? Yes, really. Which is shocking to say the least. The fact that was her most recent appearance. And this was 5 years ago. Yeah, as for why the heck she hasn't appeared since then, I have no idea. It's kind of weird. Oh, by the way, she's a creation of the late Steve Gerber. Yes, seriously. Yeah. And if you're curious, though, do the headsmen still appear to this very day? Yes, they do. That's the group she's known par with. Their most recent appearance was in the end of our Amazing Spider-Man that came out about 7 years ago. Actually, like 8. Yeah, appearance-wise, basically, her outfit really hasn't changed very much. As for her hat that she wears, the helmet she wears on her head, now you might be thinking, how the heck was this accomplished while keeping her in that sexy physique that she's got? Yeah, there's no denying, Ruby Tuesday has got a great looking body. Yeah, great body. How the heck she basically... Yeah, and basically Wolverine agrees to have a breakout in order to deal with Romulus. And of course Scar is there because just cuz. Yep. Ruby Tuesday like, oh yeah, apparently Ruby Tuesday knew Romulus at some point. Yes. Thursday, excuse me. She actually knew him at some point. And she get this really cool looking robe. Yes. I gotta admit, that's actually a really sexy robe. And then this happens with her. Yeah, apparently she can shoot out tentacles out of her head. Yes, seriously. That's what they can do with this. That's what she can do. And then she gets to a fight with... Cloak brings the fight to her to help Wolverine. Cloak brings in the Silver Samurai, Scar, and Bruce Banner. Yeah, this is a weird combination. Yes, seriously. Yep. And then Deadpool shows up. Yep. Why not? Why not Deadpool? And 46 is, Sim put the prologue to Reckoning. That's simply what it is. And after the Reckoning crossover, we have this 2-part finale for this series. Yeah, we had this really good 2-part finale. Oh my gosh, seriously. Oh, I thought it was something else. Anyways. Yeah, this two-part finale is just dealing with the aftermath of the Reckoning crossover. There, a flashback and Nick Fury popping up, and of course Sabretooth popping in flashback. Basically, like the reason why he's here is just an illusion. Despite the fact Wolverine says, "You're not real. I killed you." He did, but then Jeff Loeb retconned that he didn't really kill him. It was a clone. Yep. And of course, basically, Doctor shows up here. It's all a big dream sequence type of thing. And then Dagger shows up. Yes, Dagger shows up. And it's like a Soul Train type of thing. It's a really good two-part to end the series on. Yeah, but this overall was really good. I give this book a 9.5 out of 10. Final thoughts on the Daniel Way era for Wolverine. Like, this guy basically did a lot for Wolverine. He did the last 3 issues of Wolverine Volume 2. He did, of course, the entirety of the Wolverine Origins comic book. Excuse me. He also did a few issues for Wolverine. Yep. Like, how many issues of Wolverine Volume 3, you might ask? Well, he did issues 32 to 33. Yes, he did. He did all those issues. Yep, he did. Yeah, he did 33 to 40. That's pretty much what he worked on. He worked on the Evolution storyline, which, well, that particular story arc itself was, which of course was really good, by the way. Yeah, that one detailed death of Sabretooth. They threw it in the trades. They also threw in the Sabretooth miniseries he worked on. A story from I Heart Marvel, Mutant Heart. The backup story, well, he worked on 2 issues of Wolverine Volume 3, which actually were the last issues he worked on before it was retitled to Dark World, which he did work on for the entire 60-issue run, and then they relaunched as simply Donkey Dock Wolverine, where then he left after only doing 9 issues. Not really sure why. Yeah, and also the last few issues were crossover with X-23. But most people cannot deny that the Wolverine Origins book was really good. No bad issue the whole series. Had some really good artwork. Just really damn good. I thoroughly enjoy it. It's personally one of my favorite Wolverine runs of all time. Simply because Daniel Way had a lot of fun exploring Wolverine. Like, the whole purpose of exploring him, thanks to the events of how you gotta think unintentionally, you gotta think House of M for this to happen, to have this really good ongoing series. And this is by far out of the 3 spin-off ongoing series solo books for Wolverine that are spin-off that are not his main book. This is probably by far his most successful book he's ever done, lasting 50 issues. The only other spin-off books he had that were ongoing that were his is Wolverine Weapon X and Wolverine the Master Is. Wolverine the Master Is only lasted 12 issues, and that was it. And in the case of Wolverine Weapon X, it lasted for 16 issues. Yes, 16. As for the book being part of Dark Reign for a few issues, that's not surprising because every book at Marvel Comics was part of Dark Reign for reasons, because that's what the big thing was going on in Marvel 2009, so it was not surprising about that. Yeah, I actually was reading comics at that point, though I was slow trying to catch up with the stuff as best I can, because I didn't have a YouTube channel at that point to talk about the stuff, but this run is so fun. I love it. Alright, next up, we start a brand new era. We have Power Man Iron Fist, Volume 1. The boys are back in town. This collects the first 5 issues of Power Man Iron Fist, Volume 3. Yep, and this is done by David Walker. Yes, a guy who actually, the only books did prior to this book coming out, he worked on Shaft for Dynamite, which is set in the same continuity as the movies. I think that first series he worked on took place after the original movie came out. And here's a fun fact about the actor who plays Shaft, Richard Roundtree. My dad went to the same high school he did. Yep, he did. As a matter of fact, actually graduated, get this, I think it was about 5 years after he did. Yeah, they both went to the same high school, but not the same time. Richard Roundtree graduated in 1969. My dad graduated in 1974. Yep. Yeah, but they never met each other before. This is about Richard Roundtree isn't a Rochelle, but my dad has never met Richard Roundtree. I have heard the Shaft movies are good. It just personally, I've just never seen them. And the other book he worked on prior to this one was working on Cyborg, which he left prior to that run's conclusion. He actually left after 8 issues into a 12-issue run before it got relaunched on the Rebirth with John Stampa Jr. as the writer. Now, this book is simply the original classic Power Man Iron Fist. Not just Andy Rand's Iron Fist, we also have Luke Cage, who, by the way, despite this book being called Power Man, jokingly is like, are you Power Man again? Like, no, not Power Man. He's never reversed as Power Man the whole book. He's just simply Luke Cage. He gets to a fight and ruins a shirt that he wears. A yellow shirt. Yeah, it's a minor gag for Luke Cage. Ever since the original book, like every time he wears a yellow shirt, it always gets ruined. And the shirt he wears is apparently something that Jessica Jones, his beautiful wife, gave him for Father's Day. And he puts on a red, yellow shirt. It's like, no, not that shirt. Why not? I gave you that for your birthday. I thought it'd be so funny. And the whole thing with this is basically like Danny trying to hook back up the Heroes for Hire agency in present day, which seems like a pretty good idea. And you might think, okay, when did this book come out, you might ask? 2016. And you're thinking, Heroes for Hire. Didn't Luke Cage reform Heroes for Hire prior to this? Like 3 years prior to that? Yes, he did. He did that briefly before he disbanded that group in order to form Mighty Avengers. Now he brings back Heroes for Hire. The reason? Because their former secretary, who actually went to jail for murder, her name is Janice, and she's got tattoos now. We also have Black Maria appears in the book. Yes, Black Maria, a character from the Luke Cage comic, which that makes sense. Yeah, and the whole point of this book is basically hands on stone. Also, we have Tombstone hops in the book. Yes, Lenny Thompson Lincoln. Tombstone, the old classic Spider-Man villain. He appears in this book because he's a crime boss. Because why not? Yeah. This book is nothing but... I love the tone of this book. It's so tongue-in-cheek. Which, that was something Mary Jo Duffy did during her run for Power Man Iron Fist. Basically, was tongue-in-cheek. Now, I briefly discuss Mary Jo Duffy with Jim Shooter. I met her. Not him, or Jim Shooter's a guy. He had no problem with Mary Jo Duffy. He didn't exactly say why in the world he removed her from the book. It's just that she was moved from the book after a certain period of time. I never got in detail with him about that, but he's probably one guy who I could definitely say he could definitely have a lot of stories he could definitely tell about the comic industry. Like, he told me during an issue meeting that he, like, what was like working with Jack. I asked him what was like working with Jack Kirby. He said Jack Kirby was awesome. He loved working with Jack Kirby. He thought by far was one of the nicest guys he's worked with. Like, it's great though the fact that he has praise for Jack Kirby. I just wish to hire up some Marvel had praise for Jack Kirby, as much as Jim Shooter and Stan Lee did. I'm sure Stan Lee probably had no problem working with Jack Kirby, but I like the fact Jim Shooter actually liked working with Kirby. Yep. But this book is just pure fun. Like the Wolverine book, this is awesome. Yep. Now, yes, David Walker is the writer of the book. Now, the artist was initially done for the first 4 issues done by Separate Greeny. Falavero did issue 5. Yep. And here's your interior artwork. It's not... I like the style of this. This is actually really good. It fits Power Man Fist. By the way, this is the cover for issue. Cover for the trade, too. Yeah, and... Yeah, I like... Here's Jeannie, who apparently, since she was in prison... Yeah, she was... Now, you might be thinking, okay... Now, in the original Heroes for Hire... In the original Power Man Fist book, they were headquartered at Gemstone Theater... And then moved to an actual skyscraper... Which was destroyed by the Beyonder... During Secret Wars. No, not the one that came out 7 years ago. Not that one. The original, actually, was Secret Wars 2 that came out in 1986. Yeah, he did it during an issue of their book. Yep, and the whole thing is about this item that the Janice has. Yeah, she went to prison for murder, and now she's out. Now she's got tattoos. And here's, okay, Black Mari, yep. Yeah, the thing with her is that they're actually sisters. Yes, they are, for some reason. Oh, by the way, yeah, this is so hilarious when they have Gorilla Man show up here with the Black Tarantula. Yes, Black Tarantula. Yeah, basically you have Luke Cage and Iron Fist just talking in a diner. It's like, speaking of Fiddle, can we help you, gentlemen? And you have Grandma doing this. We're here to retrieve the item you stole from Tombstone. That's right, hand it over peacefully, or things get messy. You have Luke Cage, this is so funny. Hold on, did McGillick earlier call us thieves? And did his friend, the Spider Ninja, just threaten us? I'm sure we talk as well. You say Magilla. And then Gorilla Man say, "It's Gorilla Man, I'm killing Gorilla." It's so funny. And then you have Luke Cage fighting Gorilla Man. Makes sense, both strong men. And having Iron Fist fight Black Tarantula. Who, by the way, is a character from Spider-Man comics. Yes. Despite the fact part of this. I think he also briefly appeared in pages of Captain America, I think it was like Captain America's Sam Wilson. And then we have a brief guest appearance by Spider-Woman and Spider-Gwen. Yes. Because we got to throw them in here. Yeah. I love the fact that the artist basically keys up the fact, yes, Jessica Jones is hot. Yes, we know she's a beautiful woman. And Daniel Cage is so adorable. Who, by the way, she's actually named after Danny Rand. Yeah, basically he's playing with her namesake. And here's the weird thing, though. Danny Rand is not her godfather. They've never named him as the godfather. And then, of course, let's have Luke Cage, Iron Fist, because it's magic. So, who's the biggest magic user in the Marvel Universe who they go visit? Who's the one person people love visiting? If it's magic, first place they go to is Doctor Strange. Yep, Doctor Strange. And you're thinking, really? It's perfectly natural. And here's the thing. Doctor Strange did have an ongoing series at this point, so it's perfectly fine for him to be here. You could say this is just an advertisement for his book. Yep. No, they don't say it. They don't have an advertisement here, but they should. Yep. And by the way, the Jewel does this to Janice. Turns this monster. Yep. Then by the end of the story arc, they do officially reform Heroes for Hire, which is so fun. Yep. And of course, then you have Luke Cage beating up thugs. And you have a guy here who looks suspiciously like Mr. T. Yes. For some reason, we have this guy in here who... Yeah, this is so funny. Yeah, this is so hilarious. You have this guy who basically is like a thug version of Mr. T. And then you have Luke Cage is flying. And he's like, oh no, it's Power Man. I didn't know he could fly. Luke Cage flying. That's funny. You can fly. It's all your fault. My fault. Yeah, it's just so funny. You have guests on this radio show, then all of a sudden they deck out this, oh my gosh, what seems to be like the Power Fist Mobile. What the heck is this? It's so funny. But yeah, fun book. Get this book a 10 out of 10. I can't wait to discuss the rest of the series because this series is fun and hilarious. And this book got canceled after only 15 issues. No, seriously. But at least David Walker got a chance to continue writing Luke Cage for a brief period of time that was, because when he was writing Luke Cage book, apparently it was not popular with a lot of people because the book got canceled due to low sales, which that's understandable. Apparently it was Marvel's lowest selling book at the time. So, yeah, perfectly understandable why they ended that book after only 10 issues. Well, the last 5 were renumbered to the triple digit number because they counted this as part of the numbering. This book is fun. Love it. Okay, so that's episode of you. 2 videos today. Next one's going to be the case study of Thanatos. Okay, next video. Bye.